And now we're diving into Riichi Strategy from this book, the Haikoritsu book from G. Uzaku. Description down below if you could read Japanese and purchase it. It's a great book. Last time we finished covering up the 5-block theory. Now we're going to move on to the 6-block theory. So if you guys don't know what that is, stay tuned and here we go. So up to the past few episodes, we've been covering the 5-block theory, and we kind of mentioned that there's another one called the 6-block theory, and this is also an actually pretty popular methodology or theory that people use as well. So let's go ahead and compare the differences. Which one's better, the 5 or the 6? So let's look at this hand right here. So the 3-pin is the Dora, and if we divide this up into blocks, it'll be like so. And if you look at the Sozu, everything's connected, right? The 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So realistically speaking, we're gonna think of this as 2 blocks. And if we do, it's gonna be over 5, so it'll end up being 6 blocks. So here's the question. Which block is the weakest, and what are you gonna discard? So because the Sozu could be a possible 3-sided weight, and because the Dora is the 4-pin, discarding the 2, 3-pin is unrealistic. So that means your options are gonna be the other ones, right? So let's look at the other ones. If you look at the 6, 7, 7, if you draw a 5, 8, or a 7, that'll complete that set right there. And if you look at the 2 and 3, and compare the other blocks that you have, you could either go for a 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3, 4 Sanchoku as well. So discarding 2 and 3 mon is also a tough choice to do. And the 9-pin obviously is a potential pair, or your atama. So in this specific situation, each block has their own meaning, their own usefulness. So it's a very tough decision to make, but at the end of the day, you're still gonna have to discard something. So if we break this down, discarding the 3-mon or the 2-mon, that would be the so-called 5-block theory. And compared to that, if you discard the 7-mon, that is gonna be called the 6-block theory. Let us explain. So first of all, the pros of the 5-block theory is that you won't have any unnecessary tiles. None of them will be left over. But in this specific hand, regardless of what you draw and when your hand progresses, there won't be any unnecessary tiles. There won't be any extras. And if you only have your hand to think about, so let's say for example, if you're doing a single player Mahjong, the 5-block theory is probably the best bet or best methodology to use to maximize your efficiency. Compared to the 5-block theory, the 6-block theory, the pros are that you could kind of prolong that decision making a little further. So some people would complain and, you know, kind of bash on the 6-block theory, saying that you're undecisive, blah, blah, blah. But if you're actually in a real player match, there's a lot of pros when it comes to using the 6-block theory. Let's say, for example, if some other player calls con on a tile that you want, you could quickly recover because you have that one extra block option to choose from. And depending on what your hand is looking like and how deep you are in that game, you could decide what to discard first, you know, what kind of safe tile that you could keep, or discard first with whatever is better for that situation. So you'll have a lot of flexibility. That being said, the 5-block and 6-block theory has their own pros and cons. And the tough part is it's not like a yin and yang situation where one is obviously better than the other. So ultimately, we're not here to discuss which one's better, the 5-block or 6-block, but we're here to discuss when and how you could use both of them, depending on the scenario. So one of the cons of the 6-block theory is that even though you might have a wider shanten weight because you have 6 blocks to choose from, there's a chance that you might be at a disadvantage because the 5-block is quote quote faster in winning. So let's look at the image right there. So if you discard the 7-mon here, your possible weight tiles are 9 different types of tiles, and counting how many of each that are unused, there's 35. So 9 types and 35 tiles in total. But if you discard the 3-mon, it'll be 9 types still, but it'll be 31 tiles in total. So by, what's the right word, extending your weight, discarding the 7 mon, this will be considered the 6 block theory. And if you decide to discard the 2 in 3 double-sided tatsu there, that would be the 5 block theory process. So whether you discard the 7 or the 3, and let's say you draw the 7 so, and you're an Ishanten situation, let's compare your efficient tiles, your ukeides at this point. So if you discard the 7 mon and draw the 7 so, you're probably going to be looking at a 2, 3, 4 sanshoku. And you're probably going to have to discard the 6 and 7 mon at this point, right? That's probably the most, quote, logical thing to do. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to discard the 6 or 7 mon, meaning that you're still going to have to discard one more tile to become tenpai. Okay, so that being said, this is how your hand is going to end up looking. And your possible ukeide tiles would be the 1, 4 mon, and 1, 4 pin. So that's 4 types of tiles in total, totaling in 16 tiles that you could possibly wait on. Now let's look at this one. If you discard the san mon, the 3 mon instead, this is what your hand's gonna look like when you draw the same 7 so. You're probably gonna discard the 2 mon, and regardless of what tile you draw, it's gonna be the so-called kanzen Ishanten weight, meaning it's like the ultimate Ishanten weight, the perfect Ishanten weight, and your hand is gonna look like this. So at this point, your ukeide tiles would be the 5, 7, 8 mon, 1, 4, 9 pin, and it's gonna be 6 different types of tiles and 20 tiles in total. So comparing the 7 mon and 3 mon discard, if you discard the 7 mon, this is going to be considered the 6 block theory. So when you're in 2 shanten or ryan shanten weight, your weighting tiles would be 9 different types, 35 tiles in total, compared to the 3 mon discard, which would be the so-called 5 block theory, and you'll still have the same 9 different types of tiles that you can weight on, but you'll total in 31 tiles. So you have a few tiles that you're kind of missing out on. And if you progress one hand forward, the discarding 7 mon, which is also the 6 block theory, and your Ishanten at this point, you'll have the 4 different types, 16 tiles in total. And discarding the Sanman, which is the 5 block theory, you have 6 different types and 20 tiles in total. So main thing to check here is if you discard the 7 mon and proceed with the 6 block theory, when you're in 2 shanten, yan shanten, you'll have an advantage of 4 different tiles or 4 tiles in total. But when you progress one hand, meaning going from 2 shanten to 1 shanten, oddly enough, you will be in a 4 tile disadvantage. So this is something that you would have to check and be on the lookout for. So the main thing that we have to pay attention to here is when should we go for 5 block, when should we go for 6 block, and we're going to explain that next. So again, that was the first half of the 6 block theory from the Haikoritsu book from Ji Uzaku. You know, as you could see, it's important to be able to compare different ones. We're not finished with the 6 block, so we'll cover the second half in next month's episode. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned something today. Hopefully this opens up your eyes, and maybe some of you have heard about the 6 block theory already, but maybe we're hoping that this would clarify some of your questions.